Good morning. This is Michael Hayes with the Hiring Confessional and also Momentum Hiring Solutions. If you listen to this podcast today or see some of the clips and you're the person out there that's having a hard time hiring, reach out to me or Google our site and see what kind of business we do as far as recruiting. Before we start, I wanted to go through some tips because I get a lot of questions on tips on the sites that we're on. And some of them aren't very nice, as you know, which is fine. I'll read some of those comments too. But I also wanted to cover a couple things that I thought job seekers or hiring companies could use. One of the problems we run into with hiring people is we're trying to use AI now and not talk to a lot of people, which is a bad idea. First of all, there's still a big human element. This is still a touch sport, like a football. So you have to get down in the dirt, try to figure out where you're going to get the best people. So here's a couple topics that I think I should broach for job seekers, especially the ladies. Stop taking shitter pictures with your friends when you're out to dinner every night and splashing it all over your social media. Because if a company checks that, now, if the HR person was here, they would go, oh, you can't do that. Well, guess what? Everybody's doing it. So you just don't want those type of pictures. By the way, when I look at it, I'm a clean freak. So I'm trying to see if the bathroom's clean. So it's taking away what you're trying to show. That's number one. Number two, if you're a man, okay, I'm 64, so this is something I've had to do for 20 years. It's a hygiene thing. Cut your nose hairs. How many times have you talked to somebody and seen a monkey's could hang off of those hairs? It's ridiculous. Get a flashlight. Have your wife do it. Whatever you have to do. It doesn't look good. Oh, and guess what else is worse? Your ears. It looks like the redwood forest. You've got to pay attention to these little tiny things that could cost you a job. Now you say, why would that cost me a job? I don't want you talking to customers with boogers hanging out of your nose because you got long nose hairs. So think about that. This is easy stuff here, people. On your resume, when you're putting down a job, if it's not something easy to understand, like I work at 7-Eleven, because most people would know what that does, give a couple lines of what you do at the company and what the company does. That way we can have some context when we're reading your resume. I think that should make at least some sense to some people. Now, finally, today, the last tip is, again, probably more for the ladies. If you look at your outfit and you would wear it to the club that night, go change. You're not going clubbing, you're going in to do an interview, and you don't want people from the warehouse wandering through to take a look at you because you're wearing one of those pencil skirts or whatever it is. You might say it's sexist, and it probably is, but dress makes a difference. Guys too, don't be a slob. If you're going to a warehouse interview, great. Jeans, clean shirt, stuff like that is totally fine. If you're going for a management position, probably should strap a jacket on or a tie, depending on where it is. But you've got to have some situational awareness. Now, today we have a hospitality recruiter here, Michael Bassett, who does a lot of high-end restaurant positions, but he knows a lot about hospitality. So we're going to talk to him. Mike, thank you for coming. We're going to talk to him about some of the things that he knows and some of the things he can tell you, because we know hospitality is big and you can make a lot of money in it, and especially first jobs or early jobs or second jobs, it's always an option. Mike, nice to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Give us a little background on yourself.
Thanks. I was a career hospitality guy, lucky enough to make my way up into the office and fall into this crazy industry of recruiting, talent acquisition, and been doing that since 2019, and it's ever-changing world and industry, and so it's very interesting to see the changes over time. We were kind of talking before the show in 2021, that dynamic of everybody, getting their free money and not wanting to work. And so I was doing different things with different positions and levels. And now we're kind of stable in that area, where you get plenty of applicants, whether they're qualified or not, we can talk about. But back to kind of doing the manager level and up. And yeah.
So would you agree that doing the recruiter job is probably pretty high on the list of alcoholics, right behind dentists and stuff? I mean, because it's always something, if you let it get to you, it can really be a bummer.
You have to remove the feelings from each candidate, because I've had candidates in the past where I was really passionate about, and I pushed them through, and I, was able to influence enough to get them hired, and they turned out they were terrible. So, then there's ones that you're like, whatever, here, just talk to this guy and see if you like him or not. And then, they're still with us and they're thriving, so just what I had to learn to do was like, it's not personal to me. It's if they don't like them, they don't like them, moving on next. And as much as we're able to do that, I think it's better for everybody that we can just kind of move on and not.
What's a good example of, take one of your restaurant customers, what kind of process do you go through to try to hire the best people? I mean, how's it work from like soup to nuts? You're running ads, or what are you doing?
Yeah, we're posting on all the job boards, and we can source too. So, we'll find the restaurants that are near ours, similar concepts to ours. And, if we're in a market that's hard to hire for, like Huntsville, Alabama, for example, Torrance, California is a tough one, that we'll reach out to the candidates, which is always kind of an interesting tactic, because I've gone back and forth on that over the years, because we're reaching out to somebody who's not looking for a job. Mm-hmm. So when they apply, hopefully they know our company and want to work for our company, and that's what they're excited about. When you reach out to somebody, when you're sourcing candidates that are already working, they're not reaching out through the interview process. We're kind of having to pull them along through the process. So we'll do whatever we can to fill the position, but at the same time, we can never settle on a candidate just to fill a hole, which kind of gets us in a little bit of trouble as far as just running a company and spending the money for somebody to be there and stay in an Airbnb or hotel. What's the cost difference there? And, sometimes I'm like, well, maybe we should just fill this guy, and, this way I can get off my books and turn the page. But whatever we need to do to boots on the ground, to just posting an ad, through our ATS, and they'll feed it to all the different job boards. And
could you move your mic a little bit, because the guy in the back gets really particular about it, and I don't want him to come out here.
Fair enough.
He can be pretty mean. So I know what you're talking about, as far as the trying to get a hold of people and talk to them. A lot of times you get into that phone tag that can last days.
Yeah.
We use like an appointment setting system which by the way causes all kinds of issues, because in the Indeed platform it's a link, but because you're inside the platform, it won't let the link blew up so you can just click on it. So we say, listen, cut and paste your link into your browser, and you can get to the appointment whatever time works for you. And the first thing you get is the link doesn't work. And then you're like, yeah, it does. And then you got to cut and paste it. So it's like a little test for people. Do you do anything like that, or how do you book appointments for people that are doing these interviews?
Yeah, so with the volume we do, it's actually a very interesting topic, because the two recruiters that report into me that I inherited about a year ago, they use our ATS a little differently than I do. I use it how it's designed, and they'll reach out to the candidate first, make like a phone screen real quick, and then they'll just set up a time and day to meet there, and then they'll send them the link to Teams. We use Teams, so they'll send them a Teams link and link up that way. My way, which I feel people think is controversial, is I send them the invite, which texts and emails them and says, hey, here's the time slots that I've chosen that they can choose from. And if they don't respond to that, well, then they're not really interested. That's how I view it. If they do click a day and time to meet, our ATS reminds them 48, 24, and 2 hours before the interview. So I know they know we're going to speak. So now if I log on to that link and I'm there and they're not there, that for me is just weeding out somebody that is never going to work out in our company. Now, the other side of that, the feedback is that, well, you need to make sure we're engaging with these people. And, well, we're a technology-driven company. So if they can't figure out, for us, we're across the country. So a lot of times it's time zones. Well, I don't understand what this time means. And, and I've done it myself. I get it. If I travel and I don't readjust my computer time, then I'm off. And so I understand. But at the same time, if they're having a trouble or they log on and I'm not there, then I would expect them to reach out. They have all of my information at that point. And so that's how I set up the interviews.
That's kind of the program I have. And I expect, if somebody, first of all, you're setting the appointment. And you would think, since I'm setting it, it does increase the amount of people that show up, but you still get no-shows. Mm-hmm. Or you call and they let them go to voicemail, and then they're calling 20 minutes later and you're already by the time, so you got somebody else on the hook. So I find it interesting that, if you really wanted that job, I would be sitting there waiting for that phone call, because once we screen you, we send you to the company, and we're fee-based, hourly based. So we send it to them, and then we expect them to follow up, which they do. And then they would make an appointment for you to go into the office. And then usually it's an up or down gig. We're not doing 5 interviews. I don't work with people like that. It's awfully hard to do that. And if you did that, you'd be having a hard time hiring anybody, because the good people are just going to get picked off. Do you find that true?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We lose a lot of people through the interview process because we'll lag. And look, our operators that are running the restaurants, I understand. I come from that background. I'm in HR, but I don't really,
don't tell anybody.
Yeah, right. So
yeah.
There's that. But they're running a business, so I understand that they might be 3 days out from my interview, which is too far. We want to have it booked right then while I'm speaking with them, or I'll get their availability and reach out. But then it's the let's say it's system manager. So the next is GM, then regional, then senior regional, and so now we're 5 interviews in. We've just recently hired a guy who I think I interviewed him 6 weeks ago, and we just hired him. So, and also we've rushed people through the process in 24 hours for a general manager for one of our high-end brands. And so we just kind of depends on how the stars align for each candidate, really. A week, I think, is a good expectation to get that person through the interview process. But, it's one of our brands, they want to only interview in person. They don't want to do any video interviews, and that's fine. We respect that. But if you're not going to be in that area of the country for, a week and a half, what is this candidate? If it's a solid candidate and they're actively seeking another opportunity, it's a good chance we're going to lose them. Or what I've started to see, or maybe admit, that once we kind of are not getting that reaction time from the candidate, slow email response, slow texting, whatever it might be, they are shopping our offer to their current employer.
Exactly.
And I think that's happening more than I've been willing to admit. In this year alone, I think I've lost 7 GM candidates because of that.
Yeah, because people are fishing and they're using it, they're trying to figure out. But most of the time, that can backfire too, because when you keep going out to your old employer and holding a gun to their head, they pretty much, sometimes they might just tell you bye-bye. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Did you notice that I'm a big guy for being on time. I mean, we've had these discussions on here about being on time. We had a mechanic in here that talked about, one of the things he asked is if you can be at his office every day at 7:00. You would have thought that we were telling them they were going to get crucified in the front of the building. People were like, I can't get up at 7 and you're only paying minimum wage. I mean, these are guys that are making like $100,000 a year. They're not making minimum wage, but they're technicians. And it's so funny how people expect everybody else to be on time. But if you went to the doctor and the guy said, I'm going to Starbucks for a half hour, I'll see you in a little bit, you'd be pissed. So if you go to do the job and the guy says it's got to be there at 7:00 and you can't do it, then don't take the job. Do you have people with hours issues and stuff like that when you call them? Well, I got this at night, or I'm going to school and I can't work these hours, or blah, blah, blah. How do you work around that?
We're currently working on, how do we phrase that on the job ads? We kind of, I don't want to say test it, but we put it on a few markets. This is the expectation. We're 365, holidays are mandatory. The hours are flexible, which means, this could be a planned 10-hour shift, but it also could be a 14-hour shift, depending on the business needs. And so, yes, we do deal with that. Not necessarily, people are late, of course, but it's more so like this is the expectation, because something we take a lot of pride in is being very transparent through the process, because of just the demands and the expectations and the pressure we put on our teams to succeed. So that is one big part of the first interview with us is I don't need to know, especially GM level and above, I don't need to know or ask you that, how do you lower food cost? And, what do you do if labor's high? That you should know that, right? So what I need to do is really explain how we operate, how we work, and what the expectations are. If you're going to miss sales year over year on Monday and Tuesday, or you're going to hit expectations, 5% above year over year Monday and Tuesday, but you miss it by 1% on Wednesday, the expectation is there's, the TPS report guy is there's 3 or 4 people going to be calling you to find out how we missed yesterday. And, were we paying attention coming on to reverse happy hour to, build those sales and have a contest and push, like I heard a story one time, somebody ran the report at the very end of the night where they were $5 under year over year sales. So for me, when I was in the restaurants, I would just, delete the report, sell myself, appetizer and get above that. So at least we can say we are above. So that's just somebody that's not paying attention, right? So that's what we need to explain through that. At least the first interview is this is the expectations. When you take this position with us, this will consume your identity for some positions in some of our brands. When you meet people, this is how you'll introduce yourself, because that's what you do, because you do it so much. We work so many hours. So that's what's important for us, and that's how we kind of, not necessarily the late part, but it breathes. The hours breathe throughout the year. So.
Do you have so how many positions are you actively looking at usually on a daily basis?
So for me right now, I think I have actively 41 open, which is way too many. The 2 recruiters each have 21 and 23 openings.
And those are those mostly across the country?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're all, so one of them does kind of the Midwest to the east, and then the other one Midwest to the west. The brands I recruit for are all over. There's,
Do you think, like, I've always told people, like, and we'll get into this AI stuff a little later, but even people that I teach in my class at GCU, I mean, a lot of them don't have anything on their resume. Like they went to school, and I'm like, that's going to kill you. Nobody looks really at the GPA unless you're going to go to law school or going to be a doctor. So the person that has activities and part-time jobs or whatever on their resume always stands out.
Clubs.
Over, yeah, just like I
Sports.
participated. And I always tell them, hey, if you can't get a job right away, go hospitality, go work at a restaurant, park cars, whatever it is, because you'll be surprised. And one of the classes I teach is networking. So I'm like, you're going to meet all these people all the time. And most of the restaurants you probably work at, I mean, there's not somebody, looking through their pockets or going through the couch trying to pay their bill. So there's business owners, there's people that are looking to hire people, and you could just be that person. I've known tons of people that have got great jobs by working at a restaurant. Is that something that you find true?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with a lot of people over the years that are, they'll work in my location, but when, the Super Bowl comes around every few years, then they'll be up there for the week and just make a ton of money, like bartending or whatever. Same thing with the Waste Management Open. I mean, here there's so many events, or Barrett Jackson, all that. So they can build a network that way and just supplement their income to that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, the more people you know, the better. If you're talking about hospitality, I think it's good probably to be in one spot, because especially for the hourly servers and that, because you want to build that clientele base, right? So the more regulars you have, just like the business, you might just be a piece of that puzzle. But that's also your business too. So drive that business. So, we try to work with our front of house staff to, go drive some sales, go get some customers. When you're out and you're talking to people, tell them when you work, where you work, and have them come in, and
I've never, ever had that happen. No, I think I'd be practically shocked. I don't know. One of the places I find, and maybe you can comment on this, really interesting, is Texas Roadhouse. I don't know if you've eaten in those places before, but I have never had a bad service in there. And I even asked the guy that owns the one over in North Phoenix, because I think some of them are like owner operators or something. And I go, well, what do you guys do here? I mean, how do you get that? Lots of referrals, and they steal from other people. They're trying to get somebody in there that they can move around. But they do the dancing and all that other stuff. So I'm kind of interested on when I see that makes an impression on you, don't you? I mean, I don't know if you've been in one of those and kind of saw how they work.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a place to work, I mean, we used to have so many people be like, hey, my daughter really likes it here. Can we get an application? Obviously this is a while ago. We used to have paper applications. Yeah, if you can create that environment and execute on a daily basis, that's something someone is going to want to be a part of. If you go have a bad experience somewhere, are you going to want to work there? Probably not. So yeah, the execution is key. And once you have a leader at the top of the building, everything else you'll see kind of typically falls in place after that. So then what you start doing is you stop having to, email me for job postings, but now you're recruiting through your staff, and they want to bring their friends on and, their family members on. And that's really when, you're just cruising and you're able to take time outside the four walls to go, build business. And that's, the key to success really is controlling what you're doing within the four walls and making it a work environment where people want to be and are excited to go. And, they don't dread going there. And, now they're working with their friends. So they're excited to, go do that and see them because they were in school all day or whatever it might have been. So, yeah.
What kind of AI stuff do you use? I mean, that's going in. We know you can see the little kiosk or whatever the hell they call it on tables and stuff now for paying and stuff. But where's the AI being used? Because that's all anybody wants to talk about. The AI is going to wipe out the whole world of work in the next 5 years, which I don't think so, but it might down the road, but I don't think you're going to have that right now. What is your opinion on
I don't think yet. I think AI is a good tool. What we've done so far is with like job descriptions and, just communication with the job seekers, just kind of tweaking that to where, it can help you use different words than what we had in there that is more eye-catching. Now, as far as like screening candidates, we're working on something with that. I don't think we'll ever see AI work somebody through the hiring process and be hired. Like you touched on earlier, it's still people business. It still has to have that human element because at the end of the day, we still need to see your reaction to questions and your presentation, which you touched on also, the nose hairs, and you had me checking my ear hairs earlier.
Oh, yeah. Once you do that in front of people, they immediately run to the restroom. Or they get the pocket mirror, trying to look at the pocket mirror.
And that's a big thing too, is with if I'm not doing an in-person interview, it's on video. So you still have to present yourself well on video. Do you have a good connection? Are there any distractions? Don't be walking around your backyard on your phone, and don't be driving and
Well, don't get me going. That's one of my hard spots. When you're driving in the car and the kids are yelling and the dog's barking and you can hear people walking on the street and the car engine, they don't realize how loud that is. And by the way, it's just stupid.
Yeah. It's an unserious candidate.
Yeah.
And that's really what you're dealing with. And, on our end too, right? It's not just the job seeker. Our guys need to be in front of that camera with no distractions, a good connection, and be focused on the candidate. I mean, one of the more unprofessional things we can do as a company is, ask that candidate to hold while you take a phone call. Like that just drives me absolutely nuts. And I know we do it all the time, but it's just a thing like this.
Take care of the person in front of you first and then move on.
Yeah, I do joke we're the company that can never finish a phone call. Like, oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, I got to call you back. So I try to make a point to always, make sure what I'm expecting, I'm giving to the interview, right? And so even with the phone calls, the same. I don't. There's two people in the company that I'm going to say, hey, I got to take this. And they rarely call me, which is great. And because usually there's an issue if they're calling me, right? So, I don't usually get a phone call where it's like, hey, how's your day going? Oh, just check in. It's, hey, we
that's not why
we just had to fire 3 managers over here. So, so
it's always the panic.
Yeah. Everything's
so they were going, oh, guess what? We don't have anybody to hire this week. Yeah. Oh, you just jinxed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's, so that's the AI thing is, being developed right now for the screening process. We already have functions where it's like the auto invite to an interview, which I'm not a fan of because we're not screening that candidate, right? So
you don't know too because it does. I do that after I kind of make my mind up, and so just to back up, I think AI is better used for people that know about their business. Because if you just ask it a question, I know. By the way, mine's name is Judy. I call her Judy, and she answers to Judy. So when Judy gives me a bunch of gobbledygook, I go, hey, that's not true. I need you to rewrite this or give me the best effort on this job post first. Otherwise, you go, is this the best one? Oh, no, I just thought of something else. Okay, it's like a 3-year-old that you have to, the maze is here, and you just got to keep moving the cheese to get it to do what you want. Yeah. But do you find that difficult with working with AI? That's not the be-all and end-all thing?
No, it's not, because even Copilot, you ask it to break down an Excel form, and the math calculations are wrong. So, which shocked me.
What do you think math would be the one thing it would be really good at?
You would think. Yeah. And so AI is only going to be able to do what we're able to tell it to do. Right. So if we, like you said, if we don't know the job, we're not going to be able to tell AI to know the job. I don't know how to code. So how am I going to tell AI to code for me? So that's where I think there's like a big lag that nobody really talks about. Like, yeah, it can do a lot of things, like, for call centers, for example, and just kind of reroute you, or, you call Walgreens and, it takes 20 minutes to get a human being on the phone. But yeah, we'll use AI and embrace it where it best suits our company.
My number one thing for calling places and asking for stuff, like say it was CVS, Walgreens, whatever the hell it is I can usually take 10 times of saying customer service to get to somebody. And then that'll get you to India, which then I want to talk to somebody that's US based. And then I have to argue with them for a couple minutes, and then they finally do it. So it's about a 5-minute deal. And sometimes, and unless they get that AI that can really understand stuff, that's still going to take a while, because people still don't want to listen to some robot. And if you're in the industrial space like me, and you're trying to get them to take, pre-tests and all this, a discs thing and stuff before you even interview them, you are wasting your time, because they don't like that stuff. And by the way, the resume probably ain't that good either. And they're not applying for an editing or writing job. They're applying as a wrench turner. Mm-hmm. So if you found that with servers, they might not be the greatest resume person, but you're looking more at what did they do?
Well, with AI and resumes, the fact that I'm still seeing garbage resumes, I don't think will ever not amaze me, because I put in some information for a resume for me for a project we were doing, and I share screened it. It took 30 seconds, and it was a beautiful resume. And so with resumes, a lot of people think a resume is a job description. It's really not. Not for what we do. I know what we do. I know what a general manager does. So I don't want to see rote schedules for a 4 management team, and I hired and fired, and I understand all of that, right? What did you accomplish? Show me some numbers. What was your EBITDA? What was your sales when you got there? What are they now? What are your COGS then, and what are they now? Show me your how many Manager of the Year awards did you win, or performance awards that your company gives out did you win? That's what I want to see on a resume, and I wish I had the data to back this up, but I feel when I see a lot of numbers on resumes, those are usually really good employees that we bring on.
I have this theory too about when you first contact somebody that we pre-screen. I always tell my clients, I go, listen, don't interview them over the phone, because you're going to spend 10 or 15 minutes, and if you like them, you're all excited, and then they don't show up, and then you're pissed, mostly at me. So I tell them, just call them and say, be here tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Great. If he shows up, she shows up, great. Now I can have a conversation. I always tell them too, don't send them an app before you interview them, because they make everybody do that, and everybody hates that. So why not just give them the app if you make them an offer? And again, this gets into arguments with HR. Wow, we need to know all these things. And I'm like, well, the guy's going to fill out the app because you offered him a job. It's a lot easier. If he has to fill out 20 apps a day and he gets to yours, he just goes, I'm done. I don't want to do it. And I think you lose candidates that way. What's your experience with that?
They're already applying, right? So they've already done that before I see them. What I've found is increasingly an issue is they're not updating their resumes. So because on Indeed, if you do the easy apply or whatever it's called, but well, are you still at this restaurant? Oh, no, I left there. Okay, well, where are you now? And now I'm researching that to make sure it's a similar comp to what we do. And I know Indeed sends out reminders like, hey, it's been a year since you've updated your resume, but they're not doing it. And I think it's at least half of the resumes that I'm interviewing are not up to date. So that's the point of frustration for us is that, why are we not updating like, are you not serious about, like, I can understand, like, well, I stepped away from the industry, so I only put the jobs that apply to this job. Okay, that's fine. But now we're talking about gaps in employment when you were actually working. So just put it on the piece of paper.
That's
and
the
I'll know
problem.
That.
I totally agree. I have it all the time. And then, let's be reasonable here. I mean, I use a lot of Indeed. If you don't stay on top of that, they're just like this vending machine that you keep putting money in, and about every sixth time you get whatever you want. They love to just keep charging and charging and charging. And the big thing is they don't educate any of the popular. They'll go, oh, we have all these places you can go. They don't. They should have some type of training, because then they would get more people probably get hired, but then that would get away from our clicks so we can make our money. The other thing, that thing you said about the resume, this is what I hear all the time. So you'll see 22 to present. And you'll go, oh, great, so you're still at, oh, no, I left there 2 years ago. Now I'm at XYZ. And I'm like, well, you should update. I keep updating, and it never updates on the system. And if I heard that one more time, I'm going to scream. I went in and did mine in 2 minutes. It's like, it's not hard. And why you don't do it is amazing. The other thing is you moved to Phoenix, but you still have your Kentucky address on there. So what do? You just, a lot of times I can kind of tell, and I'll still invite them, but I'll say, if you're not in Phoenix, I can't do anything with you. And then they usually won't sign up. But do you see that too? Because you're in Phoenix and now you've got Kentucky on your resume.
Yeah. It's a lot of times I'll jump on the interview if I'm struggling to fill the role. I'll talk to the out of market candidates, but then it turns out they're actually in market. So like, we could have talked a month ago if you had updated your resume. Like, I actually liked your resume, but we're not gonna pay reload for this position. So if you had updated your resume, so that's kind of more so what I run into with the address. But yeah, it's, if they just have an updated resume that shows your accomplishments, even like we were talking about the high school kids, what's your GPA? What awards did you win academically, or
you're on a sports team?
Did you score 4 touchdowns in the championship game? Like, let's talk about it. So, I think that's important. Show all your wins.
And again, the participation stuff, like some of the kids that, and it's primarily women now. When you're in the business college now, women run the show. There's 60% women, and the guys are kind of 5 years behind them. And I always tell them, I go, these women are going to eat your lunch. They're smarter, they have more drive, and they're going to work right after school. Now, they might not even think about getting married or something until they're in their 30s. And that's changed a lot from, especially when I was a kid. But I notice most of the people that come to me for help are 99% women. What kind of age or what kind of range do you have with male and females, or is it kind of even?
I'd say it's more male. I would, like, management positions, I would say it's more male applicants. We have a lot of female in the leadership positions, which is good. It's not something, we are, passing up male candidates for female candidates or anything like that. I'm proud with the amount of women that we have in our leadership levels. Like, one of our brands, the senior VP is female. Another one of our brands, the COO and senior VP are female. So, not that I'm talking out loud about it, another one of our brands, the COO, also separate, is female. So we have a lot of that. At the restaurant level, it's more heavy to men, But it's just when we're interviewing people and putting people through the process, we're looking for leaders and good human beings at the end of the day. If we have those two qualities in a candidate, we can train the rest, right? So now if that's person male or female or green or purple or yellow, it doesn't really matter to us. So we just want the best people running our restaurants and our companies.
Well, yeah, I think you have to think that, because people will say, you don't hire this, that, or him, she, they, them, or whatever it is. And I'm like, that's just not in the company's best interest.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing that, then the company's a dope.
The company's gonna suffer because of that. 'Cause, you're bringing in less quality of candidate if you're trying to fill a number, right?
Yeah, if you're looking at everybody and trying to fit them in a box, it's just not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people already are predisposed to be crabby when they show up for interviews, because they don't want to answer the questions, or they're very non-committal, not a lot of eye contact, kind of the floor looker, stuff like that. And that stuff can kind of drive you crazy, because I would bet the people that you're interviewing at your places, so the restaurant's open probably, right? Mm-hmm. And they're meeting the manager. Man, he could be in the back of the kitchen for all they know.
Yeah.
So you're in the action right away.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of distractions there. So you got to make, he's probably going to spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes with you, and then he's going to make a call. I mean, is that probably what happens most of the time?
I would say that's reality.
Yeah.
I hate to admit that. I wish they would be able to sit down for 30
Right.
minutes, and and a lot of them do. Not everybody's chasing squirrels, so there's that. And it's also that's also part of my job too. Is I can't be sending in somebody at 5:30 on a Friday night.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
So there's that part of it too. So they got to come in before we're open, right when we open, or during the lull in the afternoon, and make sure there's no calls that GM's supposed to be on. So because then they'll sacrifice an interview for a sales call, right? So that's it's
I think, most of the time there's a lot of complaints about companies, and I get it. You never hear anything. You might apply to the place 5 or 6 times, you never hear anything. It's just the volume that comes through. I mean, I have set up auto rejection stuff just because I think at least somebody should know that. But I've found out through the years that you've got to get the company to, it makes it easier if they have a designated person for, like if you're hiring for the payables position, it's somebody in that department that does the interviews.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's not the person that's being disciplined, because, it's like the old days where, hey, Joe's been late 2 times this week, so we're going to make him interview. And he doesn't know anything about interviews. We're just using it as a punishment. So now, if you don't have a recruiter on staff, which most companies probably under 50 employees don't, you're sticking that with probably the owner or somebody else. And lots of times these people don't have time. So you have to direct people to say, hey, you need to sit down with these people. I say usually within 24 to 48 hours. Yeah. And if you don't do that, you're wasting money and you're wasting time, and you're never going to get anybody decent. And if you could get those persons, I have a friend in Mike Donnelly, president of Donnelly Service Center, HVAC. He calls the technicians we find himself. And that's impressive. The people have even told me, oh man, the president called me, because he knows how important it is to get an AC guy. And because as soon as AC starts going out, he needs these bodies. So it's not stupid. And he knows the process. So he's like, okay, I'm going to get you, once I interview and nod that you're good, then we'll do the rest of the stuff we need, which I thought was brilliant, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's it's always a question of who should do the first interview after us. Should it be their director? Because if their director doesn't like it, why are we going to waste the GM's time and the other regional so where do we start? We have a way we go from bottom to top, but some locations and some regionals, they're all different. So being an internal recruiter, you have to manage all these different personalities and understand, like this guy likes to interview on the weekends. Okay, he doesn't want to do interviews during the week. But also like this regional looks for this one looks for these things, even though same company, so you need to manage all of that. But, the interview process is always changing and always should change probably. I don't know, maybe not, but it's definitely always worth discussing. I've always been fascinated with the fact that we could have, a GM candidate make it through me, 1, 2, 3 other people. We're all yes. Here's the notes. We're thinking this is just kind of a formality at this point, and it's a no. So the last person, it's a no. So all of us, 4 or 5 people, yes, 1 no, and
But
it's a
that
no.
rules the roost.
It's a no. It's a no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that, and that's kind of to get everybody. I mean, most people can't agree on, chocolate or vanilla ice cream. So why would you think they would agree on people?
Yeah.
I would think it would be more of a weight of the person that's actually managing them, don't you think? Or is that just?
You would think.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I got to live with the thing.
Yeah.
So if you say no and they go, but hey, man, if you want them, okay.
Yeah, I've even messed around with a point system. Like this person's yes is 1 point. This person, because they're going to be managing them, is going to be 5 points. This person, because they're going to be managing through that person, is 2 points. So how does that all look? And then what's the threshold that qualifies this person as a yes or a no? I've kind of toyed around with that in the past because just constantly getting these high level, what in my opinion is really good candidates through up to a certain point, and all of a sudden it's a no. And that's where, circling back to the, you have to remove your feelings away from the candidates, but it's still, frustrating knowing all the time and effort we all as a team put to get that person in front of that person and them being declined. And that's also kind of a difficult conversation to have with the candidate too, where they think they're just going, our timing's good, we're good interviews, good feedback from the candidate, which we have to get. So now you got to be like, hey, well, what was it? I don't know. I didn't get any feedback. Or
Well, most people won't give any feedback because everybody's so suit happy and EEOC happy. Mm-hmm. So you get, when I was, because I'm an old fart, when we were going through interviews in the 80s, you could you could write a letter or you could call and say, hey, could you help me out? Why didn't I get it? And they would just tell you. Mm-hmm. Now they're like, no, there's somebody better. They won't answer. It's like calling for a reference. Nobody will give a reference. I mean, it's like I got references. I always say when employers, this is for you. They're asking for references. Okay, are you going to put down shitty references?
No.
You're going to put, and lots of times people have bullshit ones with their buddies are answering the phone, Dr. Johnson or whatever it is, and the dude's a plumber. So you have these reference things, and I'm just like, you could be better off just Googling the name or looking on LinkedIn. I like to look on LinkedIn and look at the resume. Recently, we had a guy that's LinkedIn was totally different than his resume.
Yeah.
And that tells you that's
Happens.
a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Have you found that in your
work too? Yeah. Well, for the references, I'm 1,000 for 1,000 on positive references. So, I mean, I've yet to meet somebody that we've gotten a name and number from that had anything bad to say about anybody. So, the reference thing is something we do, and all right, we'll do them, and that's references.
The references were good for me is if I know one of them. That's different.
Yeah,
because then I'll call and they'll go, yeah, she's pretty good or he's pretty good, but here's the, okay, now I'm getting an honest assessment.
Yeah, especially in this market,
Yeah.
like it's such a small world here. Even
You
though
think it's not,
the
but
valley's
it is.
huge, but it is a
Yeah.
small. Every industry is small, right? And so yeah, if there's somebody that I know that works at this restaurant, I'm like, oh, I know the GM there. They probably like that's the first person I'm calling before I even interview this person.
It's an easier time
100%. Yeah.
because you know sometimes what you're going to hear. And it's going to be a lot of expletives or something.
It's an honest. You're going to get an honest answer.
Yeah.
Because they know I'm not coming back at them with anything like you talked about with HR stuff. I'm just, I'm going to get an honest
I
opinion.
just tell them this is all off the record, and that's why you tell people to do it in phones. The other thing is amazing about if you work with some bigger companies, you'll get managers that just go, "Well, I can't hire that guy because he's too short" or stuff like that, and I just wince because those are in emails. They go out to like 5 or 6 different people, and that's the shit that they use when there's a problem. They'll look through your emails and find that, and now they don't have to. The EEOC could just. I'm sure they could just run a program and pull that stuff off.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what AI is good.
They only need one example of that, and it's a brutal reality. So I'd go, hey, everything's on the phone, or you can just say not a good fit. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, with that too is like I want to hear the negatives about the candidate because maybe we can live with those.
Yeah.
Like if that's all they got, that's that was the challenge is working with that person, then we can hopefully fix that, or like everything else is checking out so far, so we'll be good. But yeah,
well, maybe the manager sucks. That
you have
that
to
he
take that
worked
into
for.
consideration too.
Yeah, because that's where I'm sure you guys do this, but a lot of companies that I've worked with, if we keep replacing people over and over, we start looking at who's the manager or who they're working for, and then usually you find out a bad apple, and that costs you a lot of money because you're running off people. Because if you're in a good skilled trade that's in demand, you got to kiss some ass to keep these people happy. It just can't be, this is what we do.
You can just see it. Like I'll be interviewing for a location constantly, assistant manager, always like a rec is always open. I'm always hiring for this location. Then we have a GM change. All of a sudden, I don't do anything for that restaurant.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite GMs. Like who's the good GMs around the company? Well, I don't really see the numbers. I don't know if they're up or down in sales or what their cogs are, but I can tell you if people want to work for that person or not, because I haven't ran a search for manager there in 2 years, and so that's where it all starts at the top. Once you get that leader, we had a guy in, one of our East Coast restaurants where I was always hiring for. He goes there, it stops. He transfers to another location. We found a really good replacement, so that did not become a problem after he left. But he went to another location where I was always hiring for nonstop, never ever stops. And boom. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
What leadership
But
does?
those people might be working their own, their own connections if you've got some good people in there, they're going, hey man, do you know a guy at someplace else?
Yeah.
Because it's going to make it easier for me.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to get, first of all, now you're on the spot. You're making a recommendation.
Yeah.
And if the guy stinks, you don't want to look bad. So he's probably going, hey, dude, you better do a good job here because they're going to get pissed at me.
Yeah, and they have those conversations.
There's
We've had those
buy-in.
conversations before.
There's a
right?
lot
Yeah.
of buy-in that way. Well, man, Mike, this has been great. This 48 minutes just blew by.
Time flies when you're having fun, huh?
Yeah. Well, Mike, it's great having you on here. Lots of good ideas for people out there. Obviously, if you have any questions or anything, you can hit us up on social media, like us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, or whatever the hell all their names are. And then if you're a company or an individual that has questions, Google Momentum Hiring Solutions, or follow or comment on our page for the Hiring Confessional. This has been Mike Hayes. Thanks for joining us.